Greetings and welcome to today's installment to the Ingredients for Growth. Today's topic is a topic and a tool that I absolutely try to keep close to me at all times, try to utilize it as consistently and as often as possible, because it's just such a powerful tool that once we know how to use it and can get through all the hurdles that really get us to where we can use it proficiently and in the right way, it becomes such a powerful tool for us to really triumph over any obstacle that we have in our way and become more of a complete person. Alright, so the topic that we're talking about today is about learning from our past, our experiences, the things we've done good, and can't forget the things that we made mistakes on. A lot of times the things that we do good, it's easy to decipher the things that we learn from that, and the mistakes can sometimes be a little bit more difficult, but that's where we really find the material and the information that's going to create gigantic shifts for us in our lives and help us get on that path of growth that we are looking for, the one that we expect for ourselves and are hoping to achieve and striving to achieve. Okay? Now, while there are a bunch of stories that I can share, because every day that we live, it's another source of information. Whether you're dealing with yourself or a coworker, a brother, your kids, your parents, whatever it may be, there's always a source of information that we can gain from that day to apply to our lives, to apply to our person, that we can move forward with and utilize as we move forward and handle situations, I don't want to say better, but a little bit different than we do. Sometimes when we think things are better, it may not always turn out that way. So we'll just stick with different, and we'll just continue to experiment with it until we feel that we find what fits for us. Alright, so for the story that I'm going to share with you, I'm going to be sharing with you, again, trying to be transparent with you guys. I had a little bit of a money management issue in my late teens. I was like 16, when I started working and started collecting a paycheck. And my parents absolutely tried to teach me. They were like, don't do it that way, try this. I didn't want anything to do with it. I knew what I was doing, quote unquote. And the way I was living my life was basically I would live my first week after being paid like money wasn't an issue. I would splurge and go here, do this, do that, buy clothes, buy all this unnecessary stuff. And then come to the second week, because I was on a bi-weekly pay period, I was living a more humble life, if you will. And so I just kept doing this, and I knew it wasn't right. I knew that I could do better with it. And even the fact that I knew that it was there, I still didn't do anything about it. Thankfully, I had a mentor in my life who pointed out some pretty simple questions. They're heavy questions, but they were simple for me to answer, and I kind of feel like he knew that when he asked. But he asked me simple questions like, do you want a family? Do you want to own a house? And for me, it was a quick yes. And he's like, well, you got to look at how you're spending your money right now, because all of that stuff is going to be, of course, possible, but it's going to add a lot of stress to your life. Obviously, we know that money can be extremely powerful to families, and has contributed to, some people having some issues in their families and stuff like that because of money. And so with all of those things I had seen and experienced growing up, I didn't want that for myself. And so I started to take a look at it. And as I started to look at it, I realized that there's two parts to this equation. The first part is the reassuring life, where I was telling myself, no, I'm doing everything right. There's nothing wrong with what I'm doing. Other people have done this and been fine. And I was just going through this over and over and over again, just telling myself all of the excuses, or AKA I should say, reasons why I was living that life and doing the things that I was doing. Now, that's one side. The other side is that all important, inconvenient truth. The whole reason why we are actually doing the things that we're doing, or why we shouldn't be doing it, but we don't want to identify it, so we just stay over on this side with our reassuring thoughts, theories, excuses. And I was trapped in that for a little bit, and I feel like maybe some of us go through that on different scales. Sometimes it's quick, maybe an instant, maybe a couple days, couple weeks. Unfortunately, I have seen and experienced where it kind of lasts for a couple years, and we're kind of doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. And some say that's the definition of insanity. And it's hard to admit, but I didn't live that for a little bit. I thought I was doing everything right, but nothing was changing, and clearly that inconvenient truth remained still. It was always there in the corner. I knew it was there, but I just never identified it until I had enough, and I really started to think about what my mentor shared with me. And so I spent some more time with it, and it was really hard, because as we go through that inconvenient truth, that's where we have to exercise that humility in our lives, humble ourselves to realize we don't know everything, we don't have all the answers. There's some things that we are definitely going to do well in life, and then there's some things that we're just going to struggle with. But the sooner we can work with that inconvenient truth, we can start to work through it. Not saying you're going to get through it right away, but you're definitely on the right path to working it out, and eventually you will get there. So as I started to work with that inconvenient truth, I started to see all the careless spending I was making, just useless stuff. I had a closet full of clothes for whatever reason. Again, all of the reasons why I was telling myself. I was then looking back and thinking, you know, I can use that money on something else. I can try to invest it. Again, I was still pretty young. I was in my early 20s, but you know, you can create whatever life you want. And so I wanted to create a life where I could have a family and all of those things like I shared. So I started to look at it, and as I started to dig deeper and deeper into it, it became hard for me because I started to see all of the failures that I had made, all of the mistakes, the wrong time to spend, the wrong kind of investments, you know, money wasted. And so I kind of shied away from it for a little bit. I relapsed, if you will. And what I realized with that now is that I wasn't allowing myself to fail. I wanted to be right 100% of the time. And of course, that's what our brain wants. It just wants to be right. It wants to be in its comfort zone and its happy place. That's why we tell ourselves excuses, why we don't take chances, because our brain just wants to be comfortable. It doesn't want to be out there, you know, where it's vulnerable. And so I wasn't allowing myself to fail. I didn't want to look at myself and say that I had failed. I had made all these mistakes. So I reverted back to my bad spending habits, and almost worse than it was in the first place. And it continued until, you know, just one day I realized this has to stop. So I started to reevaluate it again. The only difference I made this time was that I allowed myself to not be perfect. I allowed myself to fail. And I ended up seeing this, and it was perfect. FAIL stands for your first attempt in learning. You know, F-A-I-L. And I thought that was awesome because, like I said at the beginning, you know, the things that we do good, we can pull some info from. But the mistakes are when we get confused, which I shared in another video, and we really start to ask some very important questions. So as I started to fail, I was really starting to learn a lot more about myself and my spending habits. And so I eventually worked it out to manage my money. Again, not really the point of the video. I don't want to get into all of the different tactics and stuff that I applied, because I want to stay, you know, on this. So I was able to figure some stuff out. But there was another obstacle I had in my way, and my final tip that I'm going to share with you guys tonight is to not dwell on the mistakes that you've made. I started to do better, and as I started to do better, I was realizing more of the effects of the bad mistakes that I had made in the past. I was thinking of the woulda, shoulda, couldas, and thinking about how I, you know, shoulda listened, you know, how much different my life could have been, and why did I do this? And really just getting frustrated, angry, living with regret. And again, that kind of has to do with being a student to life, you know, allowing yourself to fail and just really realizing that to dwell on it, it's not going to change anything. Because I did it for a little bit, was tempted to revert back to my old self, but I stayed focused on the fact that it was in the past, it was already done. And so when we look back on the things that we are trying to grow from in our experiences, the last tip is to get the info that you need and then move forward. Apply it to your life. Make sure that you're not just looking for information, getting it, and then not doing anything with it. You know, so if you look back at something and you can only find one thing and you feel like it's super minor, still apply it to your life and see what changes it can evolve into. If you feel like there's not enough significant change still to this point, then look at other experiences. Go back to the same experiences. Continue to dig deeper. And if you get stuck, accountability partner. I have had the distinct pleasure, I say that truthfully, it's been extremely hard at times, but I have friends, true friends, that don't tell me what I want to hear, but tell me what I need to hear. And I've had those times where it's just so hard to truly identify and say, you know, I've had this for this reason or that for that reason. You know, all of these issues that, you know, we have in our life. And sometimes just being able to go to that person that sincerely cares about us, that's going to tell us what we need to hear, they're that extra little boost to get us over that hump so that we can put all of the things aside, not dwell, allow ourselves to be a student, to accept the failures in life, and just really move forward and go for growth. Alright, so this is an extremely important topic. Like I said, it's something for us to keep near and dear to us. Utilize it, exercise it as often, as frequent as possible, and share with other people, because when you get really good at it, then you can also start to learn from other people's mistakes. You know, start with yourself, learn how to work through it yourself, and then, you know, when you see other people, you can start to empathize and feel what they've went through. You know, have constructive conversations where now both of you are bouncing ideas off of each other and coming up with new ideas for each other. All right, and then that's the best thing in life, is helping each other out, helping each other through whatever obstacles, whatever issues you may be having, and just living the life that you want to live. All right, that's absolutely what this channel is about. I hope you found that this video was helpful. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up for me. Let me know. Add your comments down below about a fail that you've had in your life and what you've learned from it. It may have been that you were fearful, but tell me about a failure that you've had and how you triumphed over it. It doesn't have to be anything too detailed, but put it out there so that we can, you know, build this community up and people can see, you know, what you've gone through. You know, you truly have the opportunity to add it in the comments and help somebody through whatever it is that they're going. So other than that, don't forget to add your comments, hit the subscribe button, like the video, and until next time, guys, I'm Jonathan. So thankful for your time as always. I'm signing out. Peace.